Hey y'all, I'm Elisa and I am the Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and today I have another art journaling process video for you. I am just continuing to work in my art journal. It's getting close to the end of the year and I'm getting close to the end of my art journal. So here's hoping that I finish it. Today I am going to do an entry all about thankfulness because it is almost Thanksgiving and thankfulness is something that I've really been focusing on the past few weeks. I've been keeping a gratitude journal and I'm going to use this to help me in my thankfulness art journal entry. So I will put you all on fast forward and we will see how it goes. Let's go. I had the idea for this page this morning during my quiet time, and it's going to be relatively simple. I'm starting out in pencil and doing a bit of hand lettering, writing out the word thankful, and the concept is that the word thankful will be coming out of a tree, an autumn tree, very abstract. I'm not, I've never claimed to be an artist, but I love the process of art and I love creating, and I think that that's the most important part of it. While drawing things freehand is not something that I consider a strength, I really don't feel like we should shy away from something that brings us joy just because it maybe doesn't match the ideals of, ideals maybe is not the right word, maybe the standards of what other people might consider beautiful or gorgeous or whatever we want to put on ourselves. I think it's really important just to enjoy the moment. And so that's one of the reasons I have this channel, is to encourage everyone that watches to embrace your creativity wherever you are in your creative journey, and don't worry about what the final product looks like, but really just lean in to the process and the journey and the feelings you get from creating. It may be a little bit hard to see here on camera, but I have sketched in my rough tree with the word thankful in the midst of it kind of growing out of the tree, and now I'll go over the word with a brush lettering pen. I'll link it below. It's from Tombow, making sure that I'm pressing harder on the downstrokes, making thicker downstrokes, thinner upstrokes, kind of one of the hallmarks of hand lettering. And actually I decide after going over it the first time that I really want to emphasize those downstrokes even more, so I come back over it and add extra thick lines just to bring that word out even more. I like the variation in how thick the lines are because I think it adds a nice interest to it, and you'll see over and over throughout this process I go back to this word thankful because I do want it to organically come out of the tree, but also I want it to pop. So it's an interesting balance to work on throughout this art journaling process. Now that my word is lettered out, I'm coming back in with watercolors. This is a set of Koi watercolors and I've had them forever. I love them. They work fabulous. The colors are rich and the watercolor goes on very smooth, mixes well. I'm a big fan of this watercolor set, so I'll make sure to link it below. I'm starting at the tips of the branches and using a black. And my plan is to go from the tips as black and to blend it down through a gray, a dark brown, and a light brown. I was planning originally to do the whole tree black, but as I started, I realized that the word thankful then really would kind of blend away, and I was afraid I wouldn't be able to see it. So I wanted to maybe surround the word thankful with a different color, which is why I decided to do the ombre effect down to brown. Today I'm using a water brush pen. This one I believe is from Jane Davenport. I picked it up at Michael's. If I can find it, I'll link it below. I kind of switch back and forth between using actual watercolor brushes and my water brush pens, if that makes sense. Just depending on kind of the mood I'm in and what I grab for. For this thing I was kind of going, there wasn't a lot of detail that's going to go on in this project, so I wasn't worried about getting fine lines or really, I just didn't need the nicer watercolor brushes for this particular project, so I just went for the watercolor pen in this case. You can see now that I'm blending downwards, bringing in more and more of the brown. When I get a harsh line, this is why I do love the water brush. You can just squeeze out a little bit more water. When the lines start to get harsh, again, blending is something I'm continually working on, and it's fun to do in watercolors. It's one of the reasons I love watercolors. But you can just add more water, maybe another layer of paint, and really work on blending out those lines, because in general, watercolor, you don't want that harsh line, and especially for this particular piece, I'm really wanting the colors to blend together nicely and create some color variation that might occur naturally on a tree. I do decide to bring a little bit more brown up to the top, so I'm adding a few more little, I call these like baby branches, the little twigs that are coming off the main branches, and I add them in the light brown just to bring that brown up to the top. A lot of these end up kind of disappearing in the background as I continue to work, but I like that they're there and you get kind of the subtle hint of them. My tree trunk is done. I'm very happy with it, and this is the first time that I decide to go back to that word thankful. I'm taking a black Sharpie and going over all of the lines for thankful, filling it in, and just making sure that that word is popping off of the page. I will actually end up going back and doing this 2 other times throughout this process video because it's really important to me. This is the title of the page, and you'll see as the page evolves, it's, you know, the focus of the page, and I want it to pop off with a clear black line, and a Sharpie is one of those tools that I have in my craft room at all times. I kind of wish I had it in all of the colors, and that might be on my Christmas list, I guess, but I love how easy they are to work with, and they definitely can make anything kind of pop. I make sure that the tree is completely dry, and then I start looking at my background, and I'm going to take my mini mister from Tim Holtz. You can see me wetting down several of the watercolors over on the right, and then I am spraying down my page, and I am planning on adding a fall background, and you can see I'm just kind of plopping color down on the page in different areas. The reason I pre-sprayed the page is so that the watercolor would have a place to move. In retrospect, I definitely could have done all of this coloring and blending before I added the tree, but that's just not how it worked out this time. So it ends up fuzzying the edge, I guess that's a word, the edges of the tree branches, which I don't mind either. It's kind of a really softer look in the end, and I like it. I think a lot of times when you're art journaling, you don't necessarily have a plan before you start, which is one of the beauties of this particular hobby, and so it's okay with me that I'm adding a background after I've already added the foreground. That's just how the page was talking to me. You can see I'm utilizing the reds and the oranges, a little bit of coral gets mixed in there, and also some gold and yellow. I end up going over the word thankful, which is why I end up having to highlight it again later, but I really want these colors to just mix and create that feeling of that tree that is so colorful it almost looks like it's on fire during the fall. We have passed our peak bloom or our peak color change here in Virginia, but that is one of my favorite seasons. It's just watching all of those beautiful colors. I'm bringing it all the way to the edge of the page, and then I'm also going to kind of filter it down towards the bottom before I add a different color at the bottom to kind of add a little bit of contrast. But yes, just going through making sure all of the white is covered and then coming back with a towel to add a little bit of texture over the top. Dabbing with the towel did 2 things. A, it toned down the color, which was nice, and then it really did add kind of a cool texture, which I enjoyed. I'm coming with an olive green on the bottom, and I'm going to blend that in with a light yellow and then a more goldenrod yellow to kind of blend it up to the top. I don't really want a defined ground and a defined sky. I kind of just want them to blend together. The only more definitive element in this layout is the tree and the word thankful. I have tried a lot of different techniques and supplies recently in my art journaling pages, so it felt good to kind of get back to the basics, to where I started working with watercolor and blending colors. This one was a lot of fun. You can see I'm really working hard to blend the 2 colors from the top to the bottom, and the towel helps that. I'm not real pleased with the line that's occurring over on the right, so I'm going to come back and work on that just a little bit more to get that, blended out and just as smooth of a transition as possible from the top to the bottom. After I dry the background with my heating tool, I do come back with some watercolor and use it to highlight around the word thankful, and you'll see me kind of go through that, and I do add color throughout the whole word in the end, and I like how it pops off and sets that word off even more. And here it is, yet another time that I'm coming back over the word with the black Sharpie. Some of it got covered a bit with watercolor as I was blending and plopping color down. So again, just making sure the lines are crisp and that that word is popping off of the page. My next step is coming in with a white Signo gel pen. I will link it below. I love this gel pen. It works fabulous for art journaling, and in fact I need to pick up a couple of more because I've been using it like crazy. And I'm adding just some sketchy marks over the top of my tree. I like to call these sketchy scribbles. I'm kind of outlining the tree branches, adding just a little bit of white in there. It tones down some of that black that's in the tree, making it look a little bit less harsh against that background. And the sketchiness kind of fits in with the messy style of how I painted the tree. I really like adding this kind of texture in. And then I decided to go ahead and add a border around my page in that same white gel pen. Adding it in the white was a little bit different for me. Normally I do those sketchy marks in black, but I like the change up of this, and as you can see, it really does make that thankful pop out even more. Now we are reaching kind of the main purpose for this entry. I would say since mid-May, I have been keeping a gratitude journal where nearly every day I write out 10 things that I'm grateful for, and I try to be really specific when I'm going through. So over off camera, you can't see it, I have one of my gratitude journals, and I am flipping through and reflecting on things in the last few months that I've written that I'm grateful for, and have decided to just rewrite them over top of this entire entry. I'm purposefully trying to use sketchy, loose cursive, so it's not necessarily super readable, but as I go through, it's fun to just reflect, and I like the journaling over top the artwork. I think that is a fun effect, and this was time well spent just reflecting on things that I am grateful for, blessings in my life, those little moments that just really make life shine and make life wonderful, and I loved getting to revisit them and write them all out in this art journal entry. This would be a fun page to kind of work on as a family. Maybe at Thanksgiving you do the artwork ahead of time, and then at the table have people write or share things that they're thankful for and capture them all on a page for the year. Maybe adding the date would be awesome. I added one more sketchy outline around the whole page, and then adding a little bit of highlighting to the word thankful. One last attempt to make that word really pop. And I think I have officially said the word pop 47 times in this video. Thanks for sticking with me through this art journaling process video. If you liked it, please take the time to give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. I love reading them and responding to them. I hope you and your family have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and as always, keep it creative.